To this now, Joburg Mayor Dada Morero delivered his maiden State of the City address this week. He acknowledged the challenges the city faces: financial instability, decaying infrastructure, and service delivery backlogs. One of the major announcements in his address was a so-called bomb squad, which Morero said would both defuse bombs in service delivery and plant them to encourage faster action. How he plans to achieve this, we will flesh out with the man himself. Dada Morero joins us now. A very good evening to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much for your time. In your State of the City address, you said that Johannesburg has a promising story to tell while acknowledging the challenges that are faced by Johannesburg. Many residents, when speaking about a promising story to tell, were asking where this promising story lies when the lived reality is an inner city that's derelict, a pothole crisis, perpetually non-functioning traffic lights, increased crime, and the list obviously goes on and on. So there was mixed reaction to your address, with residents expressing even heartbreak and frustration at some of the city's failures. So when you say it's quite promising, which Johannesburg exactly and which part of Johannesburg are you referring to?
Well, thanks for the opportunity and good evening once more, Masa. Perhaps let's begin by saying that Johannesburg, it's a city and home to 5.8 million people. Johannesburg, it's a city that contributes just around 2%. Or rather, its GDP is growing at 2% and contributes just over 16% to the national GDP. So therefore, Johannesburg is an important city in the scheme of things in the support of South Africa. So that's the Johannesburg I'm talking about. A city that would have to continue to be an economic hub and offer opportunities to South Africans and also open up as a gateway to the African continent. And that's the city I'm talking about. There are challenges, of course, in the city of Joburg, in as far as infrastructure, and hence we are putting a turnaround strategy to address, amongst others, the infrastructure on roads, on water, and electricity, which infrastructure has basically needs to be refurbished, the bulk of it. So that's what we are doing. And in the budget, you see the commitments therefore that we'll be making in terms of infrastructure investments and how we're going to attract further investments into infrastructure refurbishment in Joburg. You know that we have came out upfront last year already, where we've quantified the entire infrastructure refurbishment, which requires around 200 billion. So over a 10 to 15-year period, we'll have to raise that type of money to refurbish the entire infrastructure of Johannesburg. And that's the commitments we are doing, and our turnaround strategy and our plans that we've put in place speaks to how best we're going to deal with it. And you'll then see when we pass the budgets towards the end of the month, beginning of June, our budget will also reflect on how we intend to invest in that infrastructure.
Speaking of that turnaround plan as well, it may sound like deja vu for many residents who've heard about plans and interventions, measures put in place to try and turn the city around. So do you have timelines when it comes to this new current turnaround plan?
Well, there are instances where we would probably make certain timelines. For example, issues in relation to traffic signals are things that do not require a long-term plan. We should be able to turn them around as quickly as we can. Things around the Lillian Boy Road, which has exploded 2 years ago, that there's a timeline that we have committed to, that by the end of August this year, we should have completed the first phase of the road, which is actually where the explosion has happened. We've also made turnaround decisions about the Arts Gallery, which will take us up to 2026, end of 2026. Those are the timelines of some of the big projects that we have put in place. Yes, there are day-to-day issues that will refer to issues around continuous maintenance of our roads, which will continue to do so, and turnaround response in terms of where there could be collapse of services, what is our turnaround times. We also made a commitment that we are also going to increase the frequency of waste collection, which we are looking at it happening immediately once we have passed the budget, the beginning of July. We are looking into some of those that we can do immediately. We've also made a decision that in terms of bylaw enforcement, we're going to ensure that 1st of July, all boots are on the ground, ensuring bylaw enforcement in the city. After we've taken a conscious view that for many other things to happen in Johannesburg, we have to deal with lawlessness in the city, and we're putting that up front. So there are a lot of programs that would, of course, have particular timelines that would want to deal with those matters. At this stage, we have declared a war on potholes. We are going to start immediately to deal with all the potholes to ensure that those streets that no longer even require to be patched, we have to resurface those roads. And we do have a plan on how we are going to do that as part of our turnaround strategy to help us deal with the road infrastructure that is decayed. We are also dealing with the water infrastructure. We are currently going to be refurbishing in this new financial year at least 24 of the 45 water reservoirs. We have been able to raise enough money to invest in those, which will then start in earnest in this budget, and hopefully to conclude them, because it takes about between 12 and 18 months to conclude the work on a new reservoir. In terms of refurbishment, we think we can do it under 12 months. So we know that we are doing 24 of the 45. We would hope to do all the 45. Unfortunately, the resources would not have supported that idea. So you'd see that by timeline of next year, 2026, a bulk of those reservoirs will be concluded. We've also committed to dealing with a few of our power stations, which some of them have their health position. It's quite not good. They're in the negative. So we are focusing on those as an emergency in this new financial year. And we hope at least by next financial year, we should have at least refurbished probably about 8 of those substations to ensure that we can continue guarantee supply of electricity. So there are timelines depending on the programs that we are putting in place.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I also wanted to ask you, you've also declared this war on potholes. Why did it get to a point where there needs to be a war on potholes? I mean, some of these potholes have been around for a very long time. Why is there only an emphasis on this now?
Challenges and deficiencies in the system. And now we are forcing these programs to happen with every possible means that it's in our disposal to ensure that we make it happen. So that is why we're pushing it hard, and we're making it a project, and we're saying we're declaring war on them so that all the potholes should be closed. And I must say up front that the weather conditions are also in our favor at this stage, so we'll be able to do much work. We also have an ash flood plant, which is now functional and effective. And we think through using the ash flood plant, we'll be able to be more effective in dealing with potholes. But at a bigger scale, we want to deal with resurfacing the other roads and municipal streets that do no longer require patching, actually requires complete resurfacing. So
but
those roads are
I'm sorry
of
to
the
interject
plan.
you there, Mayor, but that's the point exactly, because in some cases, it's not just repatching. It's been left so long, it's been neglected for so long that the entire roads now need to be resurfaced, which means more money spent as well. So I'm saying that there's clearly has been a lack of maintenance when it comes to the roads. Why did the city allow it to get to that point?
Well, I think over time, the city of Johannesburg has also not budgeted sufficiently on maintenance. And that is why we're increasing our maintenance budget. And this year, we're pushing it to 6%. In the next financial year, I'm hoping to push it to 8%, which is a national norm. You require at least 8% for you to consistently be able to balance issues of maintenance. But Johannesburg has also grown much quicker than it was expected with the urbanization that has taken place, the growth through informal settlement, the growth through people who come to Johannesburg on a monthly basis, which make it very difficult for any form of town planning because it's unpredictable. You are aware that at least we're getting about 18,000, which stretches our resources as a city. 18,000 people descend on come to settle in Johannesburg, some without any form of a job, some without even a place to stay. 15 of those come from provinces inside South Africa. 3,000 of those come from everywhere else in the continent. So it is true that we need to accept that Johannesburg would not have been built to be able to absorb this growth of population. And therefore, as part of our town planning, we're therefore trying to do some of the interventions. And of course, it will affect our infrastructure. The number of vehicles have also grown in Gauteng, almost reaching 5 million mark, which is an indication that, of course, our road infrastructure will also be under severe strain. So we do accept that there are instances where we have to do a complete resurfacing, which I've already said. And I've also said that the budgeting around setting aside a maintenance budget over time has been kept at about between 4 and 5%. In fact, we need to stretch it to 8%.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, you also announced the bomb squad. How will that work exactly? And are these ANC veterans going to go into contracts with the city? Will they be remunerated for their services? And if so, at whose expense? And how will this bomb squad be different from other interventions and the departments that are there to do that job?
Well, it's a team of people with skills, expertise, who have offered their expertise to help Johannesburg. Some are in the banking industry, some are in national governments, some have retired. They've got all the skills. Some are former senior managers of the city of Johannesburg who are saying we've got a lot of time on our hands. We've got the skills and expertise. We want to volunteer our services and we want to come in and help Johannesburg. So we're setting up that team of those expertise who are going to help us to drive this program. And for me, I'm quite believing in that, what I call a bomb squad, because I believe that it will help us to deal with constraints that are there, unlock the constraints, understand the constraints, and provide solutions. And you bring in people who, some of them were CEOs in the city of Johannesburg, were senior directors. They know and understand what needs to be done. And they also have historical knowledge of the institution, and they may be able to unlock the constraints that we have. I've had engagements, of course, with the administration, and some of them do admit that, yes, there are challenges, and some of them do welcome support that can come and help us deal with these constraints. Two, we also have the national government departments through the district development model that are also coming to help Johannesburg through the presidential support. And that support team from the president also requires us to be able to guide it on how we want it to help us unlock and deal with all the constraints so that we can bring Johannesburg to a better place once more.
All right, Mayor, just before I let you go quickly, yes or no, I just heard you use the word they've offered and volunteering. So does this mean that they will not be remunerated for their services?
No, some are working somewhere else. Some don't need any money from the city. They just need to bring their skills and expertise into the team, where we might have to find resources to compensate some of the team members would have to do so, as long as you are able to achieve the objective of turning around the city and making the city become a better city once more, and the city that we all want to see.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. That's Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero.